Oda Nobunaga was just 13 days away from unifying Japan after decades of brutal civil war, having defeated rival warlords and built the most powerful military force the country had seen. Yet he never reached that final moment. On June 21, 1582, while resting at Honnoji Temple in Kyoto with fewer than 150 guards, he believed he was secure, having sent his armies out to finish the last campaigns and trusting the generals who had served him loyally for years. Among them was Akechi Mitsuhide, a commander who had fought for Nobunaga for 16 years, governed his lands, and been rewarded with status and power. That very night, Mitsuhide betrayed him, marching 13,000 soldiers to the temple instead of his assigned battlefield. His troops reportedly did not even know their true target until the temple was surrounded. And when Nobunaga realized what was happening, he immediately recognized the betrayal, calmly stating that it must be Mitsuhide's doing. As the temple was set ablaze, Nobunaga chose to take his own life rather than be captured, and his body was never recovered, burned so completely that nothing remained. Mitsuhide's victory was brief, lasting exactly 13 days, before Toyotomi Hideyoshi force-marched his army over 200 kilometers in just 4 days, confronted him at the Battle of Yamazaki, and defeated him decisively. After which, Mitsuhide was killed while fleeing, reportedly by a peasant armed with a bamboo spear, bringing a swift and poetic end to the man who had overthrown a leader only days away from unifying Japan.
Constantinople had survived for 900 years, and every enemy who came, Persian, Arab, Bulgarian, Viking, broke against its walls, making it the most fortified city in the medieval world. No one had ever taken it by force. And then, a Byzantine prince opened the door himself.
In 1195, Emperor Alexios III had blinded and imprisoned his own brother Isaac II to take the throne, and Isaac's son, also named Alexios, escaped and fled to Europe, where he found the army of the Fourth Crusade preparing to sail for the Holy Land, and he made them an offer. "Help me put my father back on the throne. I will pay you 200,000 silver marks, submit the Orthodox Church to Rome, and provide 10,000 men for your crusade." The Crusaders accepted, and in 1203 they sailed not to Jerusalem, but to Constantinople. Christian soldiers attacking a Christian city at the invitation of a Christian prince who wanted his family's throne back. They put young Alexios on the throne as Alexios IV, and immediately the problem became clear. The Byzantine treasury was empty. He could not pay what he had promised. The people of Constantinople rioted, and in January 1204, Alexios IV was killed by a palace faction. The Crusaders, unpaid and furious, sacked the city on April 12, 1204,
and looted it for 3 days. 900 years of art, gold, manuscripts, and relics were stripped and shipped to Venice. The Byzantine Empire never fully recovered. It continued for another 250 years, and finally fell to the Ottomans in 1453, a shadow of what it had been, before one prince decided his throne was worth selling his city for.
Hernán Cortés arrived in Mexico in 1519 with 500 Spanish soldiers, and he entered a world where the Aztec Empire ruled over millions of people and fielded hundreds of thousands of warriors, a power that by any normal calculation should have crushed him within days. But Cortés did not face the empire as a single force, because he inherited its enemies instead. The Aztec Empire had been built on tribute and terror, forcing conquered peoples like the Tlaxcalans, Totonacs, and Texcocans to deliver gold, food, and human lives for sacrifice. And over time, that system created deep resentment among those it ruled. Cortés recognized that resentment and turned it into an advantage, beginning with the city-state of Tlaxcala, which after initial resistance became one of his most important allies and eventually provided tens of thousands of warriors against the Aztecs.
Central to his ability to navigate this fractured world was Malintzin, known as La Malinche, a woman of indigenous noble birth who had been enslaved and later given to Cortés, and who spoke both Nahuatl and Mayan, allowing her to act as interpreter and intermediary between Spanish and indigenous powers, shaping communication and strategy in ways that would prove decisive. When Cortés marched toward Tenochtitlan, the Aztec capital, he was no longer just leading 500 Spaniards, but a vast coalition of indigenous forces who saw an opportunity to break the system that had ruled them for generations. In August 1521, Tenochtitlan fell after a long siege, and the Aztec Empire collapsed not solely under Spanish weapons, but under the weight of internal divisions and accumulated hostility. The betrayal was not carried by one person alone, but by many peoples who had lived under Aztec rule. And when the moment came, they chose to turn that history into action. In 480 BC, the Persian Empire under Xerxes marched into Greece with an army historians estimate at over 100,000 men, and the Greek alliance responded with about 7,000 soldiers, including 300 Spartans under King Leonidas, to hold the pass at Thermopylae, a narrow mountain corridor where Persian numbers meant almost nothing. For 2 days, the Greeks held the line, inflicting heavy losses and blocking the advance, and for a moment, the pass seemed unbreakable. Then, a Greek showed the Persians another way through the mountain. His name was Ephialtes of Trachis, a local man who knew the surrounding terrain, and he went to Xerxes and revealed the mountain path known as the Anopaia, a route that could outflank the Greek position and attack from behind. According to Herodotus, his motive was simple. He wanted payment. Xerxes sent his elite immortals, the 10,000-strong royal guard, up the hidden trail during the night. The Greeks had placed 1,000 Phocians to guard it, but when they realized the Persians were approaching at dawn, they withdrew to higher ground instead of engaging, leaving the path open. Leonidas soon learned that his position was surrounded. He dismissed most of the allied Greek forces to preserve them for future battles, and remained with his 300 Spartans and about 700 Thespians. They held their ground and died to the last man, not because they were defeated in open combat, but because one man had revealed the path that made their position meaningless. Ephialtes gained nothing from his decision. The Greek resistance eventually went on to defeat Persia at Salamis and Plataea, and Ephialtes himself was later hunted down and killed around 470 BC. His name survived in memory, and in ancient Greek, it came to mean one thing: nightmare. When China's first emperor, Qin Shi Huang, died in 210 BC, he left behind the most powerful centralized state in Chinese history, and a court official named Zhao Gao who saw his death as an opportunity. The emperor died far from the capital during a royal tour, with only a small group present, including Zhao Gao, who served as imperial secretary. And before his death, Qin Shi Huang had written a letter ordering his eldest son Fu Su to return and take the throne. Zhao Gao destroyed that letter, and in his place he created another, a forged command, ordering Fu Su to take his own life for alleged crimes against the state. And he also forged an order against Fu Su's general, Meng Tian, one of the empire's most capable commanders. Both men accepted the orders as genuine. Fu Su committed suicide, and Meng Tian was imprisoned and later forced to do the same.
Zhao Gao then placed the emperor's younger son Hu Hai on the throne as Emperor Ershi, choosing him because he could be controlled. And for the next 4 years, Zhao Gao ruled through him, removing officials who opposed him and consolidating power within the court. When the emperor himself became a problem, Zhao Gao had him killed as well, leaving the state without stable leadership. By then, revolts had spread across the empire, and the Qin dynasty, which had been intended to last for 10,000 generations, collapsed in 206 BC, only 4 years after Qin Shi Huang's death, undone by a single act of manipulation that reshaped the line of succession and removed those who might have held the empire together.
Hannibal Barca was the greatest general Carthage ever produced, and in 218 BC, he crossed the Alps with war elephants, bringing his army into Italy, where he would go on to defeat Roman force after Roman force, culminating in the Battle of Cannae in 216 BC, where he killed between 50,000 and 70,000 Roman soldiers in a single day, one of the worst defeats in Roman history, a moment when Rome itself came close to collapse. And still, Carthage did not send him the reinforcements he needed. In Carthage, political power rested with a faction led by Hanno the Great, a rival of Hannibal, who had opposed the war from the beginning and continued to resist any effort to support it, blocking requests for more soldiers, more supplies, and more resources. Hannibal remained in Italy for 15 years, winning battles again and again, sending repeated appeals back home. But without reinforcements or siege equipment, he could not secure lasting control or deliver a final blow. And over time, his victories could not translate into victory in the war itself.
Hanno's actions were not careless. They were calculated, because a successful Hannibal would have returned to Carthage with unmatched influence and power, and Hanno chose to prevent that outcome, even at the cost of weakening his own state. In 202 BC, Scipio Africanus carried the war to Carthage itself, forcing Hannibal to leave Italy for the first time in years, and at the Battle of Zama, he was defeated, after which Carthage surrendered, and by 146 BC, Rome had destroyed the city completely, ending its power forever, a result shaped not only by Roman strength, but by decisions made within Carthage itself.
In January 1879, the Zulu army destroyed a British force at Isandlwana, killing over 1,300 British and Allied soldiers in a single battle, the greatest defeat of the British army in the Victorian era. And the Zulu kingdom, under King Cetshwayo, proved it could face the most powerful military empire of the time and win. The British response was not only to send more troops, but to look inside the Zulu kingdom itself, toward divisions that could be used. Cetshwayo's brother Hamu had long resented his authority, and in March 1879, while the war was still ongoing, Hamu defected to the British with several thousand followers, providing them with intelligence, additional fighters, and clear evidence that the Zulu were not fully united.
The British acted on this, supporting and arming Zebehabu, another Zulu leader, and directing him against Cetshwayo's supporters after the main conflict had ended. Cetshwayo was captured in August 1879 and exiled to Cape Town, and the kingdom was then divided into 13 separate chieftainships, a structure designed to keep internal conflict alive rather than resistance against British control. That design held, and in 1883, Zebehabu attacked territory loyal to Cetshwayo, killing many of his supporters and destroying his royal homestead. And Cetshwayo died the following year, in 1884, his power broken not only by external force, but by divisions within his own people, as the British secured their victory by turning those divisions into a lasting advantage.
In 1324, Mansa Musa of the Mali Empire made the Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca, traveling with 60,000 people and a caravan of 80 camels, each carrying 300 pounds of gold. And as he passed through Cairo, he spent so much that he disrupted the gold market for years, a display of wealth so vast that in modern terms, it is often estimated at around $400 billion, making him the richest individual in history. His empire did not survive his children. After his death in 1337, his son Magan I proved unable to defend the empire with the same strength, allowing raids that would not have been possible before. And although Suleiman I later restored some stability, his death in 1360 led to a direct struggle for succession between his son and son-in-law, a conflict that ended with Mari Jata II taking power.
His rule weakened the empire further, marked by heavy spending and poor leadership that drained its resources. And the historian Ibn Khaldun later wrote that he caused more damage to the empire's prosperity than any outside enemy. After his death in 1374, the empire began to fragment. Regional governors asserted independence, the Songhai broke away, and the Tuaregs seized Timbuktu in 1433, a city that had once stood as a center of learning and influence under Mansa Musa. By 1500, the Mali Empire had disappeared, not through a single invasion, but through internal division and misrule, as the wealth and power built by one generation dissolved within two. The richest empire in history, dissolved in 2 generations by heirs who could not agree on who deserved what their father had built.